Hello, and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While, a show in which I chat with really cool people about interesting topics to spark, inspire, and motivate personal and professional change. And I'm Linda Bucher, a master life coach, author, and speaker. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by Lynn Capselors of Mission Possible You. Lynn is a spiritual mentor, a teacher, a writer, and a speaker, and she helps people change from the inside out. And our topic today is change your life through insight. And this conversation is worth your while. If you'd like to understand how to really change your life, and you know what, it's not like what you think. It's nothing near what you've been led to believe, and it's not through feeding too much more information into your head. So what we're going to cover today is the distinction between change and transformation, why self-help information overload won't lead to change, and how to finally get out of your head and into the space of transformation. So hi, Lynn. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Linda. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
You're welcome. So, all right. So this is a premise that we were just talking about, and we're sharing this with people. And the premise is that information won't change your life, only transformation will. And transformation can only come from the inside, which is why insight is the only path to change. So let's start out about talking about the distinction between change and transformation.
Yeah, beautiful. There is a great distinction. You're absolutely right. So, I've learned this many, many years of being in this business, but the ultimate level of change is transformation, right? Where we're transforming the form of habits, behaviors, how we think, how we feel, how we act. So what happens is when we see an insight, right? An insight is how we're all built to change. An insight is a sight from within. And it changes your perception of whatever it is that you need help with. Say, let's use an example to make it a reality. I'll use one of mine, the I'm not good enough that I struggled with. When I began to, right, I've tried every self-help tool, technique, strategy out there. I was looking in the wrong place because we are not built to do something to change our inner world. So I began to really dive deep into how our human experience is created. And it's always created from this power, the gift of thought. But once I began to see on a deeper level, that I live in a thought-created reality like everyone else, I interpret the world around me via thought. And that's why we have separate realities. No two people think the same way. So when I began to see that I really was good enough, it hit me. It was an aha moment. And it came with a good feeling, and it's changed my whole life because I felt powerless. Now it literally brought power back. Just everything changed. But I couldn't do anything I knew it was always thought in a way, but I didn't know it on a deep level. Yes. So when you get an insight, it never leaves you. You can't unsee it. It gives you a rise and a shift in level of consciousness where you experience life different. There's nothing to do. You don't have to do anything. It doesn't go away. It's always with you. And that's how, we change. Otherwise, if I had to do something like I did for years on the outside, all those self-help, same tools and strategies, I got some relief, but I always went back to not feeling good enough. And that happens to lots of people. When they forget to meditate, or they forget to do this, or they forget to do that, they blame the reason why they reverted back is because I forgot to do something. So yeah, we're built for insights. And you know what, Linda? As we get these insights, they come from wisdom. You can't force an insight.
Right.
They come from wisdom, which is in the spiritual world of really like the void, right? And it wakes up this spiritual knowledge that we have within us, because we all have the answers within us. We just don't know it. Right. And when we leave the intellect alone, that's good. But so it awakens everything that we have within us, all of that knowledge. That's the beautiful part,
Yeah. So I had an experience. I had been a life coach for maybe 2 or 3 years, and I was using wonderful tools that were really helping clients. And I thought I had gotten over the not good enough thing. I really thought, because I intellectually understood that, that when I have those thoughts of not good enough, then they cause emotions, and those emotions cause actions. And, that's where the graspiness, or that you don't know how to say no, like you're always saying yes when you really mean no, like all those things. So intellectually, I understood that thought is there, it's just something that I don't need to always believe. I actually still share a little story with my clients about when I was little, I thought there was monsters under my bed. And so if I woke up in the middle of the night and I had to go to the bathroom, I was terrified because the thought that if I put my ankle, my foot over the edge, some monster was going to grab my ankle, suck me under the bed into oblivion, and I would never be seen from or heard from again. Just that thought I would feel terror. My respiration would, I'd be freaking out. My blood pressure was up. My eyes were wide open. My mouth was super dry. And I was actually paralyzed. And that all happened just because of the thought there's monsters under the bed. So when I became a coach and I understood that, I'm like, this is genius. I have to share this. This is such an important understanding, but that's just the intellectual understanding, which is a gateway for something deeper. So here I was, a coach for a couple of years, a good coach, helping people, getting accolades, right? And I got accepted into a master coach program, which was really by application. And of all the hundreds of applications, they only accept 12 people. I got accepted, and it was beautiful. And I went through this master coaching program, and in the certification, we had 5 days in person for the certification. We actually had to prove, because a good coach, they say, like a master coach, makes fire, not smoke. Smoke's good, but you got to really make fire. Like if you're in the wilderness. At that point, during that 5 days, it hit me. I was having an attack of not good enough, because I was around these other amazing coaches, and we were all, becoming master coaches. And I was like, I don't belong here. I'm not good enough. And I was like, where the heck did that come from? I thought I was done with this. I thought I was through this work, And so during that 5 days at night, when I finally had some time on my own, I practiced allowing in the possibility that maybe my brain was just telling me this and it wasn't actually truth. And I had to go in. I had to go inward, and I had to go deep, and I had to use my coaching tools, but then also allow that wisdom to come to me. And it came to me like a big bang. And I was like, holy cow, I'm just as much. Whoa. And that was not a thought. That was a whoa.
That's an insight, right? That's an aha moment. Yes.
That was an insight. And what was really funny is I did my master coach certification through Martha Beck, and she is a, Harvard sociologist, and she just knows so much stuff. And she brought a story in, and she said, when you go through a big transformation in this type of a tribe, they take a new tribal name. So I want you guys to go around the table and tell me your new tribal name. So she's putting us on the spot. And you're going to laugh at what I came up with, but it felt like truth. And it's probably super controversial, but if you can't say something controversial on the internet, I don't know where you can say it. So she got around to me, and it just came from nowhere. And I said, just as much Jesus. And she's like, ooh, explain. I said, I didn't know that I had done all this work. So cerebrally, I thought I was enough. I thought I had killed that not enough monster, but I didn't until I got here. And then now I know I've gone deep, and I've done my own work. And now I know at a cellular level, I'm just as much you.
Right.
I'm just as much every coach in this room, and I'm just as much Jesus. There's no less than. The less than is gone.
Made up. It's made up. But the thing is, though, Linda, you bring a good point, because it could still come up and surface. This is what people don't understand. Even though, same thing with me, I'm not good enough. Could it appear once in a while for me when I'm doing something new and different? It absolutely can, because I can't control it. Thought is not self-regulated. It could come, I could get that feeling again, but here's the difference. I know it's based on how I was thinking, and I know that it was just part of my habitual life for 50 plus years. So I just see it as background noise. The monster under the bed is no longer scary, because people associate, I'm still feeling that, I thought I healed it. That's a misunderstanding, because thought is always going to come up regardless.
Right. Like
And
clouds
then
in the
the thing
sky.
is, you've got to see it for what it is. When you see, like I say, it's background noise. It has no power because I'm not paying attention to it, because I know what it is. I know
Right.
I
And
created it.
that's an important point. Don't park
Yes,
your
agree.
focus on a thought ever, because thoughts are like clouds in the sky. They come all day long. Some are beautiful and some are dark and ominous. And you don't need to like lasso down the dark and ominous ones, like pull them overhead like Eeyore, oh bother, life is bad, this terrible thing's going to happen or did happen. They're just, you just got to let them flow by, because that's, I mean, how many thoughts a day do we think? Something like 80,000. I don't even know.
Right, exactly. And we don't have to believe, we don't have to act on every thought. Many people don't know this, but the nature of thought, which is all spiritual, comes really with a neutrality, because we can use it to create a good life and a not a great life. So the same principle of thought, it's just thought. It's neutral. It comes with a neutrality. It only takes shape and meaning when you contaminate in your thinking. So it's the formless that's creating the form. So when we take it into our thinking, we contaminate it. And that's what makes it scary, because that's what we're focusing in on. But it's always, comes with a neutrality. So it's optional what we put into it.
Right. So we
Less
don't
stay away from the content of thinking, the better it is, because it's not the importance of the kind of thinking that we're paying attention to. Once we leave that alone, because that's not really who we are, it's just who we think we are. We're always brought back to that present moment where you're not worried about yourself. You're at the soul level of who you really are, the essence of pure love.
Yes. And I think many people don't really, they're not far enough to understand that, but what we're here to do is to give some insight into possibilities. So,
Yes.
so if something doesn't feel like you're willing to accept it, like you can accept it, like, well, that can't be true, right? A good way to start is to at least say, I'm willing to consider that. I'm willing to consider. It's a really good way to open up your mind, because that's where peace comes from, is when you're open and you get out of that narrow hallway of this is how I think. And it's only one thing, that myopia of thinking that we have. And here's my thoughts, and everything else that aligns with that, I'm going to let in, and that's what I'm going to focus on. And people make themselves miserable that way. I see it all the time. And so, another thing that I like to explain to people is your reality is based in your perception, and your perception is based on these thoughts that you've decided to hang on to. And I think of it like, everyone's got their own lens of perception, right? And our lens has schmutz on it, and that schmutz comes from all our experiences that now we've said they are how we interpret what's actually happening right now. But it's just a lens of schmutz. And I would love to clean the schmutz, right? That's what I'm trying to help my clients do. That's what I've been trying to do myself. In the very beginning of it is understanding that it's not real. It is just schmutz. It's the debris of past experience that we've thought and held on to and decided that it's shaping the future, but it's not true at all. Because all we are is in this moment. And and I just try to remind myself, like, okay, where are your toes right now, Linda? Where are your hands right now? And as soon as I bring my awareness there, I actually feel an energetic shift in my body, a kind of drops, and it's very peaceful. And it just comes from doing three things: focusing on the soles of my feet, the palms of my hands, and relaxing the base of my tongue. As soon as I do that, and that keeps me busy. My brain's busy enough focusing on those things, which is a focus, but I'm not in thought then. And it's so peaceful.
But the thing is, we could talk about thought all day long, because it's, way beyond the intellect, but That's where I point people beyond the intellect, beyond thought. But the number one reason why people have a hard time letting go of thought and understanding that it isn't really who they are, it's because they don't know the number one reason is where their experience is coming from. People think they feel upset, angry, not good enough, not worthy, not deserving because of something outside of them. When they go to something outside of them, they're looking in the wrong direction. So the more people can realize that they're a thinker, not realize on the intellect, but I'm just saying that when we realize that we've been given the gift of thought, the principle of thought, to direct us toward, any life that we want to live, it's always optional, and we have the free will. We're a thinker. So we're a thinker because we live and breathe in thought, like a fish lives and breathes in water, but they forget. When we forget we're thinking, we're lost in a soap opera drama.
Yeah.
Very easy to do. When you wake up from the drama and you leave it alone, you always naturally, our mind always comes back to clarity. We don't have to do anything but notice. And we're always brought back to the present moment because we're designed to live in the present moment without doing anything.
Yes.
We're designed to live in the present moment.
Yes. I remember many years ago when I was trying to get better at living in the present moment, I put these little stickies all around my house on things I would notice all the time, like the thermostat, because always cold or hot or whatever, above, on the kitchen sink and the window right above it, on the bathroom mirror, the sticky, and it said one thing. All these stickies said the same thing, and it said, "Isn't that interesting?" And the point was to help me to remember not to believe my thoughts, but just to notice them and find them fascinating. Be that observer, be that benevolent observer of a thought. Just, isn't that interesting? It's not reality.
Yeah, curiosity is good. And you get curious, like no one out there ever has to believe what we're saying. And I'd rather people don't. I rather just have them get curious, because this, or the experience, just get curious, because this is in your consciousness now. And we have another gift, the gift of consciousness, which is awareness. And once something is in your awareness, you're more apt to pay attention to it naturally.
Yes. Yeah.
Great.
So, okay. So, we've, this information overload isn't going to lead to change. And I know, like, when I was first a coach, I just wanted to get so much information into my head because I am a lifelong learner and a conscious expander, and I love to grow. It's like nectar, like, give me more, and it's not just knowledge, because I don't want only more knowledge, but I want more connection. I want more spiritual growth, more mental growth, more emotional growth, more love in my life, more life in my life, right? Like, so it's like this growth in a 360 degree. That's conscious expansion, and that I'm a conscious expander. So, and I was reading all sorts of stuff. I had this big giant collection of books, and then all of a sudden, I didn't buy another book for like 8 years. Because I knew there was some part of this is, Linda, you've put enough in, let your wisdom synthesize what you've learned, and then when I'm speaking public, like I'm a speaker like you are, and someone asks me a question, I feel like I'm almost channeling the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what happens.
Sure, some of it comes from that what
wisdom.
I put in,
it's all wisdom.
But it gets all like
yeah. Absolutely right. Yeah. And that's the beautiful part of it. When your mind just quiets down a bit and we're just guided by wisdom, there's nothing you need to do to get to there, because we're always there until we think we're not,
Yeah.
Wisdom it's innate in all of us. We all have it. You don't need magic powers. And the more that we're, out of the intellect, we have access to our inner guide within. Yeah. Right. And wisdom is so ordinary, Linda. I say wisdom could be intuition or common sense. All the three terms are really interchangeable, but most people, it's so common, they miss it. They miss it.
Yes, I always say to people, I say,
it's easy to do, because it's kind of, you don't know, did I make that up or did that really come from there? Wisdom.
Yeah, and following your gut. I always say isn't your gut 100% right, whether you listen to it or not? And every single person says yes. And I'm like, so that's your truth. That's your little, your inner GPS. Why wouldn't you follow that? Get out of your head and just feel into what's right for you. Feel into, so even if you're listening to new information, like you and I are providing some information that is probably new to many people today,
Sure.
feel into it. And I always preface whenever I'm doing my public speaking, I say, listen, I'm going to share with you what I believe to be true, but I'm not going to make you have to believe it. So I invite you to bring in what feels like truth. And if it doesn't, drop it like it's hot, because I'm not here to give you stuff to put in. I'm here to, maybe be the spark, and then let the fire come from within you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, Linda, because, when people hear truth, they hear truth on whatever that means for them.
Yeah. And you can see it when you say something that feels like truth, they go, oh, like they get a physical something that happens. Our bodies are really connected to our inner wisdom. And so even if you're not practiced in, listening to your wisdom, you can that mind, that connection that we have, that our body is, that's a really good place to start. So that's a good segue into our final topic today, is how to get out of your head and into the space of transformation. And, listening to your body, right? When your body's all tensed up, you're probably going in the wrong direction for you. And it's probably all being led by your head, this way, this way, this way. And your body is telling you that your wisdom is saying, no, wrong way, turn back. It is like your internal GPS, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you got to get out of that head space, right? So, be willing. And I know sometimes it's hard for people to make it an abrupt change. Like, I've always thought about this. I'm not sure what, just be willing to consider that perhaps there's another way. That's the best way for personal, spiritual, emotional growth, right? That's this emotional intelligence we're talking about. You have to be willing yourselves. You have to invite it. I invite the new, because I love to grow, like I was mentioning, in all these different ways. So I invite that growth, and I'm open and I'm willing to never be entrenched, because that would just be stagnant. I don't want to stagnate,
Right, but I think that the best way also for people to gain an understanding is that when they feel stressed out, when they feel insecurities happening, or depressed or angry, that's a gift that's just knocking on your door to let you know that the quality level of thinking has dropped, which is normal, because we come in and out of, quality, high moods and low moods. We can't be in one place the whole time. It's impossible, because it's thoughts moving through all the time.
Right.
So I always invite my clients, if you're feeling insecure or not good enough, whatever it might be, when you wake up from it, because sometimes we don't know we're in it until we do, and then just leave it alone. It's only because of thought moving through you.
Right.
And when you leave it alone, you'll be brought automatically back to the present moment. And now you're not, because when we feel that, we're just in some thought storm. And that's a snow globe. When the thought storm settles, which it does naturally, because the mind's natural state is clarity. You don't have to do anything, but just notice. And then automatically, within the next, how long it takes, you feel better. You're brought back to your default. We all have a default of innate well-being. We all are sitting on a gold mine of well-being. It's always there. It doesn't ever go away. It only gets covered up erroneously in thought. It's always there. It can never be taken away or stolen or broken. It's always there.
So what you're saying is basically the basis of a tool called the Sedona Method. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I don't do any of that, but I don't know what that is. No.
It's basically just 5 questions. And the first question is, how am I feeling right now? And just so you can become aware of this feeling. So it's an awareness, and the second question is, can I just allow it to be here? And what's really amazing is, even before you get to the rest of the questions, just by allowing it to be there, you're allowing it to release. It starts to release. It's really amazing, because you brought your awareness to how you're feeling. You kind of got out of the thought, the whatever that was. So it's not requiring you to like inspect the thought, coach through the thought. It's not doing that. The third question is, could I let it go? This feeling, could I let this feeling go? And sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes it's no. And the beauty of this tool is it doesn't actually matter what your answers are, because it just works without the difference.
Thought's going to move anyway.
Right, it's going to move. Fourth question is, would I let it go? That's my most as a coach, that's the most fascinating question I come across when they answer, like, would I let it go? Especially if I use this on myself. I'm like, sometimes like, could I let it go? Yeah, I could. Would I let it go? No, I'm entrenched, but at least
but
I'm
even
aware.
though, exactly, but even when you really know, like my work doesn't involve questions or anything like that, because it's just how you naturally work. It's just pointing people. But even myself, I'm in it. Sometimes I never question things, but I just know when I'm in a low mood, how I'm feeling. I never ask. I just know it's always 100% of thought.
Mhm.
But what happens is sometimes I don't want to let it go. I'll say,
Exactly.
no, you know what? Not yet.
Not
I
yet.
want to feel like crap for a little while longer.
Not
Then I
yet.
go, okay,
Yeah.
I'm done.
And
Like
that's
the other
actually the
day,
fifth question is when? When could I let it go? And so
yeah,
sometimes
but
the answer
right.
is not now.
Recently,
Yeah.
recently my son called me a couple last week. He lives in Tennessee, and it was 8:30 at night. Oh, I didn't talk to him. So I sent him a quick text. You want to talk? He goes, oh no, I'm getting ready for bed, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? Is he bagging me? So now I got all kinds of thinking going on. After 20 minutes, I go, okay, Lynn, you've made it up, let it go.
Let it
But
go.
if I didn't realize how thought works, I
Mm.
could have went the rabbit hole and thought he's making up a story, he's bagging me, he doesn't want to talk to me. Is something wrong? What's going on? Because I
Oh,
know how
yeah.
my system works, I'm
Right.
able, once I decided, okay, just let it go.
Just
Put your
let
attention elsewhere. But
right.
anyway, this was
Because
good.
situations are neutral and
Yeah,
the emotional charge
make
comes
of it
from the thought we attach to it. So if
always.
we don't
Yeah,
attach, we can
yeah,
let that feeling just be and go, and it brings us back in the present moment.
right.
And that's
There you
the
go.
only place that there's peace. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
this has been
nice. It was nice chatting with you, Linda. This was great.
yes. All right. So thank you, Lynn Capselors, for being on Conversations Worth Your While. And I know that you have a gift that you would like to share with our audience.
Sure. If anyone would like to have a chat, I love chatting with people, connecting with people. If you have an insight that you might need, I can help you get an insight. I'd be happy to, give you about an hour of my time, and we can chat. And I can be reached at missionpossibleyou@gmail.com. And
Perfect.
it's always nice to, during a conversation, well, during the conversation is where you can gain some insight.
Right. Yes. And also you have a Kindle book,
I have a
right?
Kindle book also. Love to offer that to people too. And it's 30 days of inspirational treasures for your heart and soul.
Mm.
And it's all literally what I write in the morning. And I just share that in the book so people can, gain some little not I don't want to say motivation, inspiration. It has you just for reflection. It's nice. So
Right.
I'm be happy to do that as well.
Well, that's wonderful. Okay, thank you. So I'm Linda Bucher, and I love helping smart, multi-passionate high achievers to get out of their own way and unleash their potential so they can give their gifts to the world while living balanced lives. So remember to open the description below where you'll find some free tools and resources from each of us and our contact information. And don't forget to subscribe. And once again, I'd like to thank Lynn Capselors as well as you, our audience, for sharing your time with us today. And until next time, make sure you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.
Beautiful.